Hello, and welcome to the Channel of Stories. Dear listeners, before we start the story, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like and share in the comments where you are from. Thank you. Here we go.
The day I moved into the building, I was barely a person. My life had detonated, divorce finalized in court with cold signatures, my job downsized me out the door, and worst of all, I buried my father with hands that still trembled. It felt like the world had pressed the fast-forward button and left me somewhere blurry and behind. I didn't move into that apartment because I liked it. I moved in because it was available, quiet, and cheap. I didn't tour it. I didn't ask about the neighbors. I just nodded when the landlord handed me the keys. Apartment 2A. Second floor. It smelled like lemon cleaner and dust. I didn't unpack much. Boxes sat in the corners like tombstones. No pictures on the walls. No light except what filtered in through the blinds. At night, I didn't bother turning on the overhead. I sat with one lamp and let the dark do what it would. I told myself I was resting, but really, I was disappearing. I avoided people. I walked with my head down. When neighbors passed in the hallway, I gave the obligatory tight-lipped smile. Never a hello. Never a conversation. I lost interest in everything I used to enjoy. I hadn't played the piano in months. Food didn't taste like anything. I only ate because I remembered I was supposed to. My phone was permanently on silent, not that anyone was calling. Then came Thursday. I opened the mailbox expecting bills and grocery ads, but there was a note. Folded once, written in pen. The handwriting was clean and angled. You left your light on again last night. I hope you slept better anyway. No name. Just a small 3B in the corner. I stared at it in the lobby until someone cleared their throat behind me. I tucked it in my coat pocket and went upstairs. I reread it 5 times. Not because it said anything shocking, but because it said anything at all. I didn't respond. I wasn't ready for people. And yet, I didn't throw it away either. The next Thursday, another note appeared. I heard you playing piano again. Thank you. Even the sad songs help. That one hit different. Because I hadn't told anyone I played. Hadn't played at all since the divorce, actually. That night, I opened the keyboard cover. I ran my fingers across the keys like I was testing water. I played a few broken bars from a piece I didn't even remember the name of. Somehow, someone noticed. She noticed. That note didn't just acknowledge my existence, it reminded me I still had one. Thursday became the day I lived for. It was like a secret between us, passed in silence but thick with meaning. The notes always appeared in my mailbox, folded with care. Never overly poetic. Never dramatic. Just real, observant, startlingly tender. You look tired today. Be kind to yourself. There's something comforting about your piano at midnight. You don't open your blinds, but your music does. They weren't long, but they landed with weight. Each sentence felt like it came from someone who'd been paying attention, not just to what I did, but to who I was. I began to feel like maybe, somehow, I wasn't invisible anymore. I cracked. I wrote back. A short note, left under her door, "What's your favorite sad song?" The next Thursday, her reply came. There's a piece by Max Richter. On the nature of daylight. Makes me weep every time. That's how it started. A conversation that never happened out loud but unfolded more deeply than any spoken one. Our letters grew longer. We started folding them into real envelopes. She used a faintly lavender-scented stationery. Mine smelled like old books. She told me about insomnia, her obsession with tea, her love for thunderstorms. She described a childhood dog named Basil who followed her everywhere. She admitted she had panic attacks sometimes, though no one else knew. I told her about my father's funeral. About how I left the eulogy folded in my jacket pocket because I couldn't find the voice to say goodbye. I told her about my ex-wife, how our love had withered into polite silence. I confessed that my apartment wasn't lonely so much as numb. She signed every letter the same way, 3B. No name. No phone number. No invitation. Still, every Thursday, I wrote her back. She became a rhythm in my life. A heartbeat. The possibility that I might not always be stuck in this liminal space between grief and routine. I started doing small things differently. I played piano more often. I took longer walks. I opened the blinds. I even smiled at a neighbor once. And when I did, I wondered if she saw it. That week, her letter read, "You smiled at someone. It suited you." And I smiled again. It became routine, our wordless Thursday exchange. A ritual built on paper and patience. Her handwriting had become so familiar, I could have spotted it among 1,000. The way her lowercase r looped slightly backward, or how she dotted her eyes with tiny vertical dashes. Subtle, deliberate quirks. She left me a charcoal sketch once, folded inside a note. It was me, or someone shaped like me, sitting at the piano in silhouette, moonlight streaming through a cracked window. It wasn't perfect, but the energy in it was accurate. I hadn't looked at myself in months, but somehow, she had. "Hope you don't mind," the note read. "Your shape is familiar now." I sat with that drawing for an hour, wondering how she saw me. Was I hunched and tired, or gentle and still? I wanted to ask her. I wanted to know if she found something worth seeing. But I didn't. Not directly. Instead, I left a reply. "I've never been sketched before. You made me look like I mattered." She didn't answer the following Thursday. The mailbox was empty. It wasn't just disappointment I felt, it was absence. Like something was missing in the very air. I waited all day, checked again at night. Nothing. The next Thursday, I lingered by her door. I raised my hand to knock more than once. I listened. I waited. I walked away. Then, finally, a letter came. "I saw you laughing in the lobby." It made me think I could, too. I hadn't realized she was watching. She was always watching. Quietly, respectfully. Like you watch a wounded animal from a distance, hoping not to scare it, but rooting for its survival. Her words started taking up space in my daydreams. I imagined her voice, low and soft, reading those letters aloud. I imagined bumping into her in the hallway, both of us startled, words caught in our throats. But she always ended her letters with the same phrase, "Not yet." And I obeyed that boundary, even when everything in me itched to cross it. Because if she was brave enough to share her words, the least I could do was wait until she was ready to share herself. Even if it meant waiting forever. Then came the week where nothing arrived. No note. No coffee cup left at my door. No evidence that 3B still breathed. I told myself not to panic. People get busy. People forget. But by Thursday evening, I was pacing like an addict deprived of a fix. It wasn't the paper, it was her. Her quiet companionship. Her presence in my otherwise shapeless week. I waited 2 more days. On Sunday morning, I finally knocked on her door. No answer. I pressed my ear to the wood, hoping for a sound, footsteps, music, anything. But it was dead quiet. I hesitated only a moment before I took the stairs 2 at a time and found the landlord sweeping the stoop. "Hey," I asked, trying to sound casual. "Is the woman in 3B okay?" He looked up, squinting in the sunlight. "3B's been empty for a while. No one's there." "What?" I said too quickly. "That's not right. She's been leaving notes. Letters. I've been." He tilted his head. "Are you sure it was 3B?" I was. I was sure. Still, I went back upstairs, numb with confusion. I stared at the door for a full minute before I did something I never imagined I'd do. I picked the lock. The door creaked open, revealing an apartment coated in dust. No furniture. No signs of life. Just a mattress rolled in the corner. A single broken teacup sat in the sink like a ghost left behind. The air smelled like forgotten things. But on the windowsill was a single folded note. My name on it. My hands trembled as I opened it. I knew if I stayed, I'd ruin it. I'm better at loving people from the hallway. But I want you to know, you made me feel like I could come back to life. Maybe someday. But if not, thank you for seeing me before I was ready to be seen. I read it again and again, each line burning into me. She was real. She had been here. She had seen me. And she had left. I sat in the empty space, let her clutch to my chest, and realized what I was feeling wasn't heartbreak. It was longing for something I'd never had but had somehow lost. That night, I played the piano for her. For the silence. For the maybe. For the woman who disappeared before she was ready to be found. I began leaving notes anyway. Every Thursday, without fail, I slid a folded letter under the door of 3B. Even though I knew the apartment was empty. Even though the landlord swore no one had been inside since spring. Even though there was no reply. It didn't matter. The ritual had become part of me. Some notes were long, like journal entries. Others were fragments, memories, dreams, unfinished questions. I had a weird dream last night. You were painting the sky on the ceiling and wouldn't let me help. The piano doesn't sound the same without knowing you're listening. Today someone asked how I was. I thought about telling them. But I saved it for you. It wasn't hope that drove me to keep writing. It was memory. Habit. The ache of connection, once tasted, now unreachable. Like a song stuck in your head that you hum for days, even when you can't recall the words. I started telling her things I hadn't said out loud to anyone. About my father's laugh. About the feeling of waking up and not remembering what day it was. About how, sometimes, I still waited for my ex-wife to walk through the door, even though I didn't want her to. Each note was an anchor. Each letter a promise to keep caring, even when no one asked me to. Sometimes I thought about who she really was. What her name could be. Where she went. If she had someone else to write to now. If I had only ever been a detour. Other times, I convinced myself she was still here, watching from the shadows, waiting until the world felt safe again. And then one Thursday night, months after the last letter from her. A knock. Soft. Hesitant. I opened the door with breath held tight in my lungs. And there she was. Hair damp from rain. Eyes tired and searching. I was going to write, she whispered. But I thought maybe this time, I should come in person. She didn't wait for an invitation. And I didn't give one. I just stepped aside and let her in. She looked like something from a memory, familiar, worn at the edges, but undeniably real. Her hair was longer. She was thinner, or maybe just more fragile in the way she stood. Like a vase just barely glued back together. But her eyes, they were still hers. The same ones I had imagined countless times. This feels strange, she said, stepping inside slowly, like she might dissolve under the wrong light. I know, I replied. But you already live here. We sat on the couch with mugs of tea between us. Neither of us drank. We just held the warmth. It was enough to keep the silence from becoming unbearable. My name is Grace, she said finally. I figured you should know, now that I'm not just a mailbox ghost. Grace. It fit her perfectly. Soft but strong. Like a whisper that carries weight. She explained everything. How the apartment belonged to her sister. How she had been staying there after leaving a marriage that stripped her down to raw nerve and fear. How she hadn't meant to start writing to me. But then she heard the piano. It didn't sound practiced, she said. It sounded honest. Like someone bleeding. I smiled, sad. That's about right. She confessed she never meant to vanish, but the idea of being known, truly seen, terrified her. She worried if we met, she'd disappoint me. That the magic of the mystery would dissolve in daylight. I left because I didn't think I could be enough outside the letters, she said. And now? I asked gently. Her eyes met mine. Now I think I want to try. She stayed for hours. We didn't touch, didn't kiss. Just spoke. Shared. And when the sun rose, I handed her a folded piece of paper. A note. For Thursday. She laughed quietly and slipped it into her pocket. That night, I found a drawing on my pillow. It was me, sitting at the piano again. Only this time, she was beside me. After that night, everything changed. Not all at once. Not in a movie montage kind of way. But in small, unremarkable shifts. Grace didn't move in right away, but pieces of her did, her laugh, her scent, her scribbled thoughts on sticky notes I'd find stuck to the fridge or tucked into books I hadn't opened in years. She'd come by in the evenings. Sometimes with tea. Sometimes with paint on her fingers. She began drawing again, charcoal, watercolor, even digital sketches on a tablet that seemed permanently low on battery. She'd show them to me shyly, like a child with a secret talent. "I'm relearning how to let my hand speak," she said once, her fingers smudged with graphite. We developed rituals. Tuesday grocery runs. Wednesday night documentaries. Sunday afternoon walks where she'd notice a detail about every dog that passed us. "That one has anxious feet," she'd whisper. Like he's been yelled at too often. Sometimes she stayed the night. Not in my bed, not at first. But on the couch, curled under the blanket we jokingly called the safety net. I'd wake up to the smell of mint tea or banana bread. Sometimes, she'd be sketching me in sleep. "Your forehead wrinkles when you dream," she'd note. There were pauses, too. Days when she disappeared back to her sister's place. She called them her reset hours. Said they were necessary so she didn't lose herself again. I learned not to panic. Instead, I left a cup of tea and a note at her door, "Whenever you're ready." She always came back. One evening, I found her on the fire escape with her knees pulled to her chest. "I used to count exits," she said quietly. "Every room I walked into, I memorized how to leave." I sat beside her. "And now? I count lights. Windows that glow. Yours is the only one that's never gone dark." She rested her head on my shoulder. And for the first time since I met her, without touching her hand, or kissing her mouth, I felt her trust settle between us like breath. By the time autumn arrived, we were something. Not labeled. Not defined. But deeply entangled in each other's days. She started leaving more than just letters. I'd come home to a tin of cookies on the counter, or a sketch taped to the mirror. Notes scrawled on napkins. Texts that said, "The sky's moody today, and I thought of you." We still exchanged letters every Thursday. It wasn't a rule, just a rhythm. Hers were sometimes absurdly poetic. Other times, simple. "Watched you fix the sink and muttered, 'This man.' You didn't hear me. But I meant it. Your yawn today made me laugh out loud. I'm saving that sound for hard days." I kept them all in a shoebox under the bed. My little archive of wonder. I asked her one night if she believed in soulmates. She was quiet for a long time. "I believe in patterns," she finally said. "In people who find each other when they're most lost. I think, maybe we make each other up. Piece by piece." We weren't always perfect. She hated how I left dishes in the sink. I hated how she wouldn't answer her phone when she needed space. We fought. About timing. About space. About fear. But we also apologized. Real apologies, not just, "Sorry you feel that way." The kind with eye contact and understanding. One night, we sat on the floor with our backs against the kitchen cabinets after a fight that left us both quiet. She reached for my hand. "I don't want perfect," she whispered. "I just want us." And that was enough. That winter, she asked to move in officially. No fanfare. Just a key left on my pillow with a ribbon around it. "I'm ready," she said. Not just for the love. But for the mess, too. So she came. With boxes full of mismatched mugs and half-finished journals. And we built something. Not big. Not flashy. But honest. And still, every Thursday, we wrote. Because words were how we met. And some beginnings are too sacred to stop repeating. Love, we learned, doesn't mean you stop getting scared. One morning, I woke to find her side of the bed empty. That wasn't unusual. Grace was often up before me, making tea or sketching at the table. But that day, the apartment was silent. No kettle boiling. No pencils scratching. No scent of lavender or rosehip from her lotion. Gone. Just like that. At first, I tried not to panic. I told myself she'd gone for a walk, needed air. But the hours stretched. Noon came. Then dusk. Her phone rang once, then stopped going through. I left messages. Grace, where are you? Grace, are you okay? Grace, please. By the time night fell, I was sitting on the floor, staring at the door, letter in hand. I had written it the night before, our usual Thursday tradition. It was about a dream I had, where we were growing old on a porch that smelled like oranges. I couldn't bring myself to slide it under the door this time. There was no one behind it. That night, I didn't sleep. The apartment was too quiet. I walked the halls like a ghost, half expecting her to step out of the shadows, yawning, apologizing. She didn't. The next day I walked to her sister's building. No one answered. I left another note. No reply. The following Thursday, I lit a candle. I placed her mug beside mine. And I wrote her one last letter. I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're coming back. But if you're lost, I'll wait. Not because I need you to return, but because you taught me how to hope. That night, a knock came. Soft. Uncertain. Just like the first one. I opened the door. And there she was. Hair unkempt. Eyes swollen. Hands trembling. I almost didn't come back, she said. I stepped aside. She walked in, dropped her bag, and collapsed into me like she belonged there. Why did you leave? I whispered. I was afraid, she said. Of staying. Of being loved and still feeling broken. But then I remembered, broken things make the best mosaics. She kissed me. Not desperately. Not urgently. But like someone who finally decided to stay. Now we live in rhythms. Mornings where she reads with her legs across my lap. Afternoons where we bicker about whether to order Thai or make grilled cheese. Evenings where I play the piano, and she paints nearby, sometimes on canvas, sometimes on whatever she can find, envelopes, napkins, our bedroom wall. Grace didn't come back perfect. Neither did I. Some days, she flinches at sudden noises. Some nights, I still wake from dreams of empty rooms. We both carry our ghosts. But now, they sit at our table like old friends. A little quieter. A little less sharp. We kept the Thursday tradition. Even now, after all the hugs and shared socks and burnt pancakes. Every Thursday, we write. Little notes, folded neatly, placed on pillows or in coat pockets. Sometimes they're simple. Thanks for warming up my side of the bed. You looked peaceful watering the plants today. Other times, they're deeper. I woke up afraid today. But then you smiled, and I remembered where I was. Loving you makes me feel like I have skin again. She keeps her notes in an old shoebox. I keep mine in a drawer beside the bed. Every so often, we pull them out and read them aloud, usually with wine or popcorn. They are our story. Written 1 week at a time. A reminder of who we were, and how far we've come. People talk about grand gestures, roses, diamonds, dramatic airport reunions. But we built our love on ink and silence. On shy confessions. On notes tucked under doors and beside mugs. On Thursdays. And every Thursday, I still ask myself. Would I have survived without her? Probably. But I wouldn't have lived. Because Grace wasn't just a neighbor. She wasn't just a mystery. She was the first person who saw me when I didn't want to be seen, and didn't look away. She loved me from the hallway. Until I opened the door. And now, even when she's beside me, I write to her. Just in case the world ever grows too loud again. So she'll always know. She didn't save me by loving me. She saved me by letting me love her. One Thursday at a time.